Stay tuned for the Splash Live. It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, and social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Kevin McIntosh, your host for today, as always, on this program that goes over the latest happening across the greater West Bloomfield community. Kevin, happy Friday. We've made it to the end of the week.
Another day, another opportunity, Tyler. It's just one of those days of the week where you just wish it was the weekend. And that could be any day of the week, Tyler, right?
Hey, it's always the weekend when you're hanging out with us on the Splash Live. Always feels like that. It's a nice break away from the hustle and bustle and seeing all the fun happening across our local community, Kevin. And a lot of that fun, a lot of that business is combining with good causes at this time of the year. April is, of course, Autism Awareness Month all throughout the globe. And here in the greater West Bloomfield area, there's a local organization that's helping those both on the autism spectrum and others with special needs connect, learn life skills, hold steady jobs, and support the community each and every day. Our reporter, Jake Schaff, has more.
For the last 8 years, this restaurant has been treating customers to great food and a warm, cozy environment to relax. But it's the work they do for their employees that is most worth talking about today. Soul Cafe in West Bloomfield has been well known for their employment of people with special needs, providing them with fun work experience and giving them the tools they need to succeed. It's also provided them with a close community of people they can rely on. So close that some might even call it a family.
We are a restaurant that's part of the Friendship Circle trainee program. What we really work to do every day here is to make a comfortable, safe place for individuals with special needs to come and learn, train, work in a work environment, which is all part of what the Friendship Circle is about. How this developed really was that a lot of the kids that they took such great care of became older, and the parents were looking for something for them to be able to go to and give back and do good for our community. We based our trainee program about the needs of what the restaurant is, and not only our restaurant, but the goal is to find employment elsewhere at different restaurants so that we can continue to grow the program and to continue to train and employ individuals with special needs.
It is a great program. I think that, multiple people with special needs, need a program like this because it helps them and to grow, especially when people are helping them to work and train throughout the whole program. So it helps out, and I truly love it myself. So I think it's a great program. A lot of people don't, have the ability to do something like this, especially when they're special needs, because they need a place to be, to be trained, to work, to socialize. So that's what we're here for. That's our actual part of being part of the Soul Cafe, is to socialize, to work, to help train, and to work together as a big family. So that's my personal feeling about this place.
If you could describe Soul Cafe in one word, what would it be?
We're all about our soul. Really, it's understanding and seeing the beauty of every soul, of every individual, regardless of where they are or who they are. sometimes that's forgotten. We look at what people, their outside is or what the outside looks. But over here, we're all about inclusivity and everyone has a shining soul and we want to bring that soul out.
It's the kind of place where you can't help but smile every time you walk in the door, as Soul Cafe continues to do great work for the community and, more importantly, continues to change lives as well. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Appreciate the story, Jake. And hey, packed house over there too, Kevin, throughout that, as we saw so many people enjoying the food and the patronage over at Soul Cafe. Perhaps it's because TV star Jake Schaff was out there on that particular day, but I think it's also because of the great service. We even saw some of our neighbors over at Town Hall enjoying a nice lunch break over there. So good to see, and really a great program, one of many interesting programs they have over there at the Friendship Circle. We were able to talk recently with Bassi Shemtov and others from the Friendship Circle about upcoming projects and initiatives and events going on at their Soul Studio, which is an art studio. Just so many programs that help to immerse people in our community with special needs and their skill sets, their interests, life skills, job opportunities, and keep them involved in our community in their own way.
It makes so much sense now, especially now that they put it in perspective that they're creating an environment where they don't want to judge you by anything else other than your soul. It's just everyone being their kind souls with a kind environment, a friendship environment. It's creating a space for people, for those with special needs. I just love that Soul Cafe being there for good souls and good spirits, and then just treating and accommodating for people in the community who may be overlooked every now and then. So yes, I 100% love that they are doing that and hosting that for that community. Yes.
Yeah, plenty more information on the Soul Cafe can be found on their Facebook page. Follow along, facebook.com/FC Soul Cafe or friendshipcircle.org to learn even more about all of their programs, how you can support them, how you can get involved, and especially if you know someone that is on the autism spectrum or has some special needs and may be interested or may have a worthwhile time enjoying participating in some of these programs, friendshipcircle.org. Big thank you to them for allowing us out there earlier this week to talk to them. We're also recognizing National Library Week across the greater West Bloomfield area. Kevin, we had a chance to tell so many stories from our local libraries earlier on this week, get to know some of the individuals doing amazing work over there. And it's one of the most respected organizations in the greater West Bloomfield area, and for good reason too.
Let me tell you, like I said, we all know. If you don't know now, you know I'm a great advocate for the library. Call me old. Yes, it's a place where you have to go and get books. Yes, a lot of people like to go to their tablets and computers and their phones. But listen, I always say this. There's information in these books that they have not put in on the internet yet, either haven't done it yet or they will not do it at all. So take advantage of the knowledge in these books. We're just talking about books. Let's get into the resources that they have. Different instruments, different other objects, Wi-Fi. You can get Wi-Fi, different things that you can get from the library. You just never know. They gave out over 10,000 eclipse glasses, Tyler. I'm just highlighting so many different things that the library brings that we need to definitely honor and pay our respects to the local library, specifically at West Bloomfield Township.
Yeah, a few different places you can go to learn more about the library and get engaged at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library's two branches. The main branch right next door to us at the Town Hall Complex on Walnut Lake Road. The other on Pontiac Trail, the West Acres branch on the western side of the community. WBLIB.org. It's their brand new website, reorganized, is optimized for both your web browser and for your mobile phone. It takes into account all of their resources online, and it's a great place to learn more about events. In addition, we've had tons of conversations with the library recently about their new website, about some of their interesting programs and new spaces in the library, Kevin, and even about some changes in their policies. If you're returning your books or other materials a little bit late, those fines are no longer going to be in place. All the more reason we are celebrating them as we recognize National Library Week across our community and beyond. pond. Outdoors, close to home, across the road in Keego Harbor, their community garden is soon to open through Keego Harbor Parks and Recreation. Their application process is currently ongoing, and the garden opens on April 27th, Kevin. So if people want to get involved, they got to get involved pretty quickly. A couple places they can go for more information. The application is on keegoharbor.org, and they can learn more about other Parks and Rec initiatives, projects, and ongoing ways to get involved on Facebook at KH Parks. This seems like a really fun way to get involved right in the heart of the Lakes community.
Keep on the grass, get to the root of the problems, plant your seeds. These all seem to be themes in our local communities, Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, Keego Harbor, and West Bloomfield, Tyler. We're seeing more community gardens open up their applications, even fill up very, very, very fast. So it's great to see this. It's a sign of the times, letting us all know that the spring is here, the summer is approaching. Take advantage while you can, especially if you do want to get yourself a plot or a space in one of these community gardens.
Again, Facebook at KH Parks for more information on all the parks and recreation activities happening in the heart of the lakes. You can also apply right now for a space in the Keego Harbor Community Garden on keegoharbor.org. I've seen pictures of the garden from past years. I've driven by it tons of times as I'm out and about throughout the city of Keego Harbor, and especially once it's already in season. People are growing their plants and are growing their herbs and whatever else they are deciding to grow for this season to bring home to their families or they donate or just for their own interest. It's such an interesting place. It's right in the thick of the community in Keego Harbor. So if you're interested, if you want to even just get a start in gardening, great place to begin. And also, Kevin, it brings people together from all different corners of our community and all different times of the year as well. And that's an effort that's also spreading out to some of our religious groups throughout the community, especially now during some of the high holiday seasons.
Yes, Tyler, as me and you did some research and we stumbled across a few stories. This one caught our interest. It's explaining basically it's celebrating, I should say, an event by the Jewish community that we necessarily get a little bit more knowledge on, specifically me and our audience. It's a Passover area specifically to West Bloomfield. Joining us right now to give out more information and details regarding that, we have Vice President and Executive Director of the Chabad Lubavitch of Michigan. We have Rabbi Kasriel Shimtov. Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule. So I just want to essentially start off kind of coming from a perspective of someone who is not in the Jewish community. So I want to let you know I'm being as respectful as possible, but I just want to start by you giving us information. What is Passover and why is the holiday significant?
Okay, well, Passover, it's interesting. Passover is probably the most practiced holiday in the Jewish tradition. This represents over 3,000 years ago, the Jewish people coming out as a nation, being taken out in the Exodus from slavery to freedom, and really forming as a nation and preparing to receive the revelation of Sinai, which is the revelation of the Torah, of the Ten Commandments and the teachings of Judaism. So the Exodus took place on the night of the 15th of Nisan, in the Hebrew month of Nisan. This year, that is going to be on April 22nd in the evening. And Jews all over the world will be sitting around a ritual-rich feast with many traditions. Families sit around all over the world celebrating this holiday. And it goes on all the way till the 30th, the holiday. So, you know, it's a time of celebration, a time of understanding our past and recognizing our mission in the world, the way Judaism teaches us.
Great explanation. So essentially, Rabbi, what should we take away from the story of Passover? What should we take away from that?
Well, it's a time, it's called the holiday of freedom. Okay, where we are, Moses went to Pharaoh and said, let my people go and they will serve me. That we are here to be able to serve God, to bring godliness into this world, to bring God's light into the world, to reach out to our fellow and bring freedom to them and embrace them, and being able to bring the teachings and traditions of the Torah to the world, and to make this a more positive world.
Absolutely. Thank you for, I mean, it seems like general principles, just be nice, be kind to others, and, treat others how you want to be treated, essentially. And like you said, celebrating freedom also. Yes, I completely understand that. Joining us right now, VP and Executive. Oh, no, joining us right now, VP and Executive Director of the Chabad Lubavitch of Michigan, Rabbi Kazriel Shemtov, just telling us about the Passover Mitzvah tank event that's coming to Metro Detroit, specifically here in West Bloomfield. I'm sorry to cut you off. Continue, sir, please. What were you saying?
Sure. In terms of Passover, of course, because it was from slavery to freedom, the message for all of us would be, so many of us in our own lives feel entrapped, feel like we have challenges, we have limitations, we have boundaries to be able to go on with life and do the right thing. And what Passover teaches us is that every day you can say to yourself, today I'm going to go free. I'm going to step out of my boundaries, my limitations. I've been given by God a special power to be able to live my life and reach out to others and bring light into this world.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, definitely want to make sure we approach that correctly. So getting to the event specifically, the Mitzvah Tank, can you tell us about the inspiration behind the Mitzvah Tank parade event, and specifically just before Passover, the significance of it?
Yes, we're doing this now for a number of years, and it's really exciting. You see the images over there, where we have mobile homes, VRs, that are essentially dressed up and equipped to be small outreach centers, where this is all was initiated by the Rebbe, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, our spiritual leader of blessed memory, in 1974. And the Rebbe's vision was that there are so many people who they won't come to the rabbi, they won't come to the synagogue, they won't reach out for help in their tradition or in their lives. And therefore, create these centers, go out to where people are. We say a mitzvah on the spot for people on the go. Go out to them, make it available to them, reach out to them. And therefore, we call it a mitzvah tank. It's a mitzvah, it's a good deed, but it's goes out of all boundaries, just like a tank, literally, on the negative side, maybe, makes it through all boundaries, limitations, trenches. That's why the tank takes you where you have to go. The idea of these mobile homes is to tell each of us, go out of your boundaries, go out of your limitations, and be there for other individuals. So what we have done here is there's going to be 13 of these VRs, of these mitzvah tanks. We're going to have a parade, and the parade is going to go from the center in Oak Park. It's going to go through a number of communities like Huntington Woods and Royal Oak, Birmingham, and then they're going to each one spread out to a different station, either shopping centers, senior citizen homes, neighborhoods, and it's all being arranged that people could come onto the Mitzvah Mobile, learn about Passover, learn about their tradition, and even for all walks of life, from all traditions and all human beings, to come on and be embraced with the message of peace, of hope, and the Jewish tradition.
Nice. So starting in Oak Park, spreading out to different Metro Detroit areas and cities, essentially. And then we are going to land one of them right here in the West Bloomfield area also. Can you tell us a little bit more about the one that'll be in West Bloomfield, about where that location will be? And exactly, you said they'll be handing out things, doing different things. Can you get a little bit more in detail about that, please?
Sure. Like I said, there's going to be a parade going from Oak Park, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods, Birmingham. And then from Birmingham, we will spread out, and it will be in Oakland County, even beyond. There will be, and here in West Bloomfield, we're going to have 2 mobile homes. I'm not going to give the exact locations right now, but there will be in neighborhoods. There will be neighborhoods in West Bloomfield, as well as for senior citizen homes, where it's already the program has already been scheduled. You know, the mobile homes come also with equipped with having music to be played loud, so they come out. Everyone notices them. They come to their windows. They come outside, whatever it might be. So it brings a spirit of friendship, of happiness, of joy, and as well as shopping centers. One neighborhood, for example, that we're going to here in West Bloomfield, you know, a news social media post went out to the entire subdivision. They're all aware of it because we've done it in the past. They come out at 5 o'clock and are joining and could get the matzah. Let me tell you a little bit about what they're equipped with. You see, on the Seder table at the Passover night, one of the highlights is the Shemura matzah. It's a special matzah, unleavened bread, crackers, however you want to call it, that is traditionally baked, and that's what we eat at the Seder table. So when you come to those, when you come to the mitzvah tank, you'll be able to receive those. You'll find out where you can get more. There's also the traditional putting on of the tefillin, that for males. There's for the women, they light the candles before the holiday. They'll be able to receive information. And it will be an opportunity for anyone that needs a place to go for the Seder. They could reach out to any of the Chabad centers, Chabad Lubavitch centers, and they could find out where they could have a Seder. We're inviting every single individual that needs a place for the Seder, that we will help them to have a place for the Seder. The Seder is this traditional feast for Passover.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate the in-depth information that you're giving me. Like I said, from someone who's not from the Jewish community, just want to learn a little bit more about the tradition and the things and the history going on. Just once again, joining us, VP and Executive Director of the Chabad Lubavitch of Michigan, Rabbi Kashriel Shimtov, joining us talking about the Mitzvah Tank Parade starting in Oak Park, going out to different communities of the Metro Detroit area. There is one thing that was mentioned, the Mitzvah Tank Parade is open to all and promises to be a truly unforgettable experience. With this being open to all, if someone is not Jewish, like myself, can you just tell us why want to participate and come out and witness this?
Sure. Come on board. We welcome everyone. You could learn about the holiday, you can learn about traditions, and we could all learn about how we all can go free. And there's, you know, and this is a safe space where people could come and learn about these traditions, which really affect all people, not just the Jewish community. I do want to just mention, you asked about why we're doing this at this day. This is also a time on this year where April 15th is going to be, actually, I don't have the date right now in front of me, but the birthday of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe passed away in 1994. His 122nd birthday is being celebrated around the world. That day is dedicated as Education Day. It is by the president, by many governors in many states, and we are celebrating it with this mitzvah tank parade, and that's why we're going to have 13 mitzvah tanks representing 122 into that. One mitzvah tank representing every decade, and his teachings to the world was how we all have a responsibility for each other, both within the Jewish community and outside the Jewish community. And that's what this parade represents. And the best time to do that is, of course, celebrating Passover and a time of freedom.
Right. It makes sense now. Thank you for the context. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the information, Rabbi. If you please, is there any other information you want to give us or give to the community before we wrap up?
Yes, this is being arranged by the Yeshiva boys. These are students from all over the world, from 20 countries, 5 continents, who come studying here to be in training because they want to be able to grow up and lead Jewish communities and be there for others. So they have arranged this particular, together with Chabad Lubavitch of Michigan, are reaching out together with all the centers of Chabad, 30 centers around the state, to be able to do this parade. They come with an enthusiasm. They come with a joy. These are youngsters. They're here celebrating, and you could feel it when the parade goes out with the music and the youngsters. They come with a sincerity. They reach out to people from their heart, and people respond to that. So my message to everyone is the entire Jewish community that Passover is coming. Make sure you have a place for your Seder. Make sure you have a place to get matzah. The 22nd and the 23rd in the evening is the Seder. We welcome everyone. Reach out to us, and may everyone be blessed with a peaceful holiday. And all people should be able to celebrate with light and peace and harmony.
I can agree with that. Thank you again for your time, the education and enlightenment. VP and Executive Director of the Chabad Lubavitch of Michigan, Rabbi Kazriel Shimtov. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Love taking time out to speak to some community leaders, to talk about different things going on in the community that reflects different parts and different sub-communities within our West Bloomfield area, Tyler.
Yeah, it's a fun event to celebrate a major holiday, but also invite other people in to learn about various local cultures, engage with the public in a positive manner, and maybe learn a little bit and celebrate a bit of what makes our community unique and special. Thank you so much for that, Kevin, and to Rabbi Shemtov for his work as well throughout our community. Our next guest is a Detroit native who for over 20 years has been serving people as a medical professional, a surgical oncologist, but it was a trip to the Himalayas that changed his life and added a new layer to his mission to help save lives all across our local area and throughout the world. Joining us is Dr. Richard Kaiden. He is the co-founder of Detroit to Nepal Foundation and joins us now on the Splash Live. Dr. Kaiden, thank you so much for your time today.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about this because I saw some posts about your organization, Detroit to Nepal Foundation, or D2N, on social media recently, and it caught my eye because the story behind this is so profound. So just take us through briefly what the origin of the Detroit to Nepal Foundation is and some of the work that you're doing to this day.
Sure. So I've always enjoyed the outdoors, and that enjoys both canoe tripping and hiking in the mountains and climbing in the mountains. I've been going to Nepal since 1983, and on one of my trips about 15 years ago, my lead guide, which is called the Sirdar, his name was Namgyal Sherpa, and he invited me to come back to his village area to do some medical work. And as you can imagine, if I came back to his village area with a duffel bag of medicine and a stethoscope, I wouldn't do anything very sustainable. So I just asked him to come to his village area, see what the status quo was, do some assessments, and then try to decide how we can best help out. So that was kind of the origins of Detroit to Nepal about 15 years ago. Since that time, we've been working with both public health, healthcare, and education for the communities in Nepal. And a couple years after we started the foundation, we also started doing the same type of work in Detroit neighborhoods.
And we'll come back to the work that's being done locally here in Detroit neighborhoods and in our local area. But the work continues in Nepal. You mentioned that it was a major earthquake a number of years ago that sort of was the catalyst behind a lot of the philanthropic work and the relief work that your organization and its partners are doing in Nepal. Your most recent trip to Nepal provided even more relief to an earthquake zone in western Nepal in the Jarjarkot district in the Karnali province in western Nepal. Tell us about this particular work that was done fairly recently. Despite it being a smaller earthquake than in 2015, still had a major effect on this community.
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, the 2015 earthquake not only affected Nepal across the entire country, but many other countries in the region. This earthquake was much smaller in its effect, but had a very dramatic effect for these communities. You'll see some of the slides. There were tens of thousands of people in this area that were rendered homeless by the earthquake. Over 800 schools were damaged, including over 200 schools completely destroyed. So it had a profound earthquake for this one area, and this area, Western Nepal, happens to be the poorest area in the entire country. So when we first started providing some relief, it really was a matter of getting them through the winter. People were living outside, so we provided tents and tarps for temporary shelter, clothing, food, blankets, medicine, all the things you can imagine it would take just to survive. Uh, we also evacuated injured adults and children, children that were rendered orphans by the earthquake. We brought down to this Circuit area to my friend and colleague's orphanage, Copila Valley Children's Home. Pregnant women were brought down to urban areas to get medical care. So there were just a lot of emergency efforts just to, be on survival mode. Now that we've survived the bulk of the winter and people have some temporary shelter and enough food and some basic medicines, they've asked us to provide help with rebuilding infrastructure. The philosophy of D2N, Detroit to Nepal, has always been to respond to the priorities that the communities identified, and they've identified school rebuilding as their number one priority. In 2015, we rebuilt 11 schools in the Khotan district in the eastern Nepal. We also built a couple medical clinics and birthing centers at that time as well. So now we're in the planning phase of rebuilding some schools. Our initial plans will be to rebuild 4 or 5 schools in conjunction with the communities. So the local communities are in charge of this process. They do the actual construction, they participate and have ownership of these programs. And once they're up and running, we hope to also implement some programmatic changes. My partner in this effort is Maggie Doing from Blink Now. She has an orphanage and children's home in Circuit, about 50 miles from the epicenter of the earthquake. And she's going to be the specialist that's going to help with some programmatic changes once the schools are rebuilt.
More information can be found on D2N's website, Detroit2Nepal.org. That's Detroit2 Nepal.org. You can also follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Their handles on both of those social media also are Detroit2Nepal. Dr. Richard Kaiden is joining us on the Splash Live today to talk about this organization that he has founded and runs from right here in our local area. And you mentioned some of the relief more recently, and you've been to Nepal as recently as December of 2023 to provide this relief and to these communities. You mentioned the schools being a particular area of devastation that they're hoping to have rebuilt and repurposed as soon as possible. Talk to us just about the extent of how much they lost in terms of schools that were damaged or destroyed in even just these most recent earthquakes.
So again, in this most recent earthquake, over 800 schools were damaged and over 200 were destroyed. So obviously we can't rebuild all of those, but we're certainly hoping to at least rebuild 4 or 5. As you can imagine, after a disaster like this, there are multiple organizations that are going to be interested in providing some assistance. So, we'll try to coordinate our efforts with other organizations to see how best we can help them. They'll obviously need to rebuild their homes as well. The government's going to provide some assistance to each household that was destroyed. There has been a disbursement that's helped them with some temporary shelter, but they'll need some more assistance down the road, again, primarily from the government for the homes. As you can imagine, it'd be very difficult for an organization like ourselves to rebuild homes, because how do you decide who gets assistance and who doesn't? It's very, very difficult, and you can't show any favoritism. So having the community schools rebuilt, which are government schools, is something we can assist the communities with in a much more practical fashion.
And helping to provide critical resources and to coordinate personnel to put those massive efforts forward and help these communities in Nepal. That takes a lot of effort from supporters both here in our local area and abroad. What are the best ways that people can participate and support Detroit to Nepal in these efforts, particularly overseas at this time where there is a great need for critical, vital, basic resources?
So I really appreciate that. This effort just for rebuilding the schools is going to take at least $400,000 that we're in the process of raising right now. All these projects are managed by the locals, and that's always been our philosophy, that they are very capable and very motivated to do these things. They're just unfortunately experiencing poverty. So where we come in is the assistance with organization as well as with funding. So people at home can certainly provide us with great assistance with funding, and those donations can be sent to our website, Detroit2Nepal.org. That's greatly appreciated.
And these are all grassroots programs you put on your website, grassroots community-based programs. That is at the heart of all that Detroit to Nepal is doing, both in Nepal and closer to home in the Detroit area as well. Dr. Kaiden, talk to us about some of the efforts that your organization is putting forth to support people in Detroit.
Sure. So again, we work with public health and healthcare and education as well in Detroit neighborhoods. Probably one of our biggest efforts now is trying to increase the accessibility of medicine and healthcare to underserved areas in Detroit. As you know, we're a very wealthy country. We have tremendous resources available, but they can be very difficult to access. We've utilized techniques in Nepal to try to overcome these barriers for accessing healthcare by using what's called female community health volunteers, which are medical lay people that go through a formal training to be taught to engage their community, provide them with education regarding healthcare, and then very importantly, help them access healthcare with the resources that we provide. We build several health posts, which are medical clinics and birthing centers in Nepal, but these are communities that traditionally use jockeries or faith healers for prayers and herbs and don't access Western medicine. So there are a lot of barriers to potentially limit that access to healthcare. So we found the female community health workers to be extremely important. We're using a similar model in Detroit using what's called community health workers. And again, in a very similar fashion, they're trained with a formal curriculum and certified to have the ability to engage the local community and to help them access resources. And these are most commonly people that are trained directly from that community that they serve. So they're trusted members of their community, and they can be much more effective with forming a relationship, forming trust, and then subsequently helping them access some resources, which again are available, but can be very, very difficult to access.
And so on those local efforts, how big of a role does partnership with other organizations, other nonprofits play into providing these resources to people as they need them and in a way that's most effective to fulfill their lives?
That's a very, very important question. And any nonprofit by themselves is limited by the capacity that that organization has. Once you start collaborating with other organizations that have capacity, expertise, experience, training that will complement yours, you become a much stronger organization. So we work with other organizations, including Say Detroit, the Brilliant Detroit in the neighborhoods, and multiple other organizations through the years to increase our capacity and increase our ability to accomplish our mission.
More information on all the efforts from the Detroit to Nepal Foundation, or D2N, can be found on their website, Detroit2Nepal.org, Facebook and Instagram also for more information at Detroit to Nepal. Dr. Kaiden, before we let you go, anything else that you'd like us to know about your organization at this time, or ways that people can get involved locally?
So again, I really appreciate the time, and all your questions were very, very pertinent. And again, I want to stress that we're an organization that whether we're working in Detroit or Nepal, we respect the communities we work with. They have tremendous talent and ability, and our job is to assist them. And I hope this short interview kind of exemplifies that. Again, for help, the biggest way you can help us, like any nonprofit organization, is with your funding. We can't do this with any of your support. So again, appreciate anything you can do to help us in our efforts.
Again, Detroit2Nepal.org for more information, including information on providing donations. If you'd like to help them with their efforts, both here locally in the Detroit area as well as all throughout the world abroad in Nepal as well. Dr. Kaiden, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time and appreciate all that you're doing here locally and across the world. Again, more information, follow them on Facebook, Detroit2Nepal. You'll find even more information, even more stories about the efforts they put into helping people in Nepal in the wake of those earthquakes over so many years, and the efforts they're putting forth in the Detroit area, including recently some visits with some of their partners, including Say Detroit at their Say Play Center. Such great stories from our friend Dr. Kaiden and our friends at Detroit to Nepal. Recently, we heard about some efforts throughout our community to improve not just Greater West Bloomfield, but Oakland County as a whole, and employing partnership and strategy into propelling our county into years of sustained success going forward. And we heard about that at the Oakland County State of the County for 2024. Joining us on the program to talk about all the key points from his 2024 State of the County is the man himself, Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, with us on the Splash Live. Executive, thank you for your time today.
Really great to be with you again. Thanks.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about your 2024 State of the County. There was so much ground that you were able to cover in that. We have the full broadcast available and replaying on Civic Center TV all throughout the week if people want to watch it in full. But let's dive into some of the key topics of this. And from the jump, you had talked about some of the people in our community that are making big impacts at a pretty young age, focusing on the 40 under 40, including many of whom were from right here in West Bloomfield. Talk about that effort and recognizing these individuals who, in so many different capacities of our community, are making an immense impact.
They really are. I'm always impressed when I meet with this group of folks. We pick 40 individuals. We could pick, 3 times as many. I'm always impressed by the people that are at a young age, younger than I was involved, frankly, are not only successful in their careers, but are giving back to their communities, are contributing in a major way. And sometimes we can be too negative about young people or this generation, I don't know, whatever you want to say. And I am consistently impressed with how many people are out there that are just amazing individuals. And so to the extent that I can help lift up those stories, or in this case, 40 stories, I'm really excited to do that. They joined me at the speech last week.
Yeah, and a lot of what these individuals are doing kind of compares to what Oakland County is trying to propel going forward with many of its goals and particularly its strategic goals for the county as a whole. You mentioned that at your State of the County last week. Let's take a look at some of what you had to say about those strategic goals for Oakland County's future.
That careful and far-sighted fiscal planning has once again allowed us to earn our coveted AAA bond rating. And while we celebrate that, this is not the end or the ultimate goal. It's the foundation that allows us to execute our strategic plan, an intentional and thoughtful roadmap to deliver the initiatives and services to improve the lives of our people and create a promising future for the next generation of people here. Our purpose is defined by the way we step in to help our residents and each other. It has to do with providing support at every corner to ensure people are living their best lives here in the county.
And that all connects to the 3 main key points that you really kept going back to throughout your State of the County, which are strength, purpose, and people. Talk about those key points and why they are so important to every effort that's being made from the county across all departments and all partnerships.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you showed that clip, because I am proud of our financial stability and the way that we manage money in Oakland County. We still have the AAA bond rating. We still have 3-year balanced budgets. But as I said in that clip, so that's our strength, but it's not our purpose. The goal of government is not to have a AAA bond rating. The goal of government is to make sure that you can improve people's lives, frankly. And that's what I tried to talk about in that speech last week, was that financial foundation allows us to lean in on the initiatives that we have in our strategic plan. Things like improving educational attainment, more affordable housing at a time when housing has gotten so expensive for folks, more transportation options when that's necessary. So that really was the theme of this speech, was using our strengths. And in Oakland County, we have a lot of strengths. In many ways, it's a very successful and strong county. But using those strengths to lean into our purpose which is to help our people. And that's ultimately, I think, what government is about, is to try to make the lives of our residents stronger and more successful.
And a lot of that goes into education. Also, the Oakland 80 initiative is something that's been a big goal of Oakland County and your administration over the last few years. And so far, the accomplishments in that have been quite immense, going from last year when you made your State of the County, if I'm recalling the numbers correctly from my notes, 61% of the county had achieved that goal of higher education. And now you're at 69%. Talk about the education efforts too, and how that is being further moved forward through partnerships with local organizations and making education more accessible and affordable in Oakland County.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that initiative and the goals, the achievements that we've been able to make so far. So as you said, our goal is to get to 80% of our adults that have something beyond high school, something post-secondary, because we know that if you want to have a prosperous and successful career where you can make enough money to raise a family or do the things that you want to do, you need more than high school now. And so our goal is to get to 80% of our adults that have that. We started at 61%, and I announced last week, through our efforts, through collaborating with our universities, our community colleges, the other folks that offer various certification programs, we're now at 69%. And the reason that's so critical is not only because the data is clear that you need something beyond high school to have a good, successful, prosperous career, but it's what attracts businesses to Oakland County as well. One of the reasons that Oakland County has been as successful as it has been over the years is because we have an educated and talented workforce, but we're falling behind. Michigan is falling behind other states. And so I want to make sure that Oakland County continues to lead in this way and has the workforce that businesses want and the jobs that people need to have a successful career. And so really excited that we're at 69%. And our goal, as you said, is to get to 80% by the year 2030. And we're working hard at it.
Yeah, plenty more information on the Oakland 80 initiative can be found on oakgov.com or by following them on their social media at oakgov as well. We're being joined by the Oakland County Executive, Dave Coulter, who just a little over a week ago provided his State of the County address. You can find that replaying all throughout the day and throughout the weekend as well on civiccentertv.com. Check our listings for all of its air times. And we mentioned education. It provides a better prospect for careers, for making a living, for being able to continue to live in a place like Oakland County and have a decent home that's in good shape. But when those resources maybe aren't there for some people, the county has also been able to step in recent years and provide, through grant funding and other partnerships, some of those essential funds for big changes that are really helpful for people. And in particular, the program you touched on in your State of the County was the Oakland Saves program, which provided $5 million in grant funding for energy efficient upgrades in people's homes. One of the stories you told during that was, and that you mentioned during that, was the story of Bonnie, a local resident who was able to do some repairs on her home, and particularly her furnace that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. But that program, $5 million is a lot of money, but that went away really quickly as people applied quite fervently for those grant funds.
It did. We announced that program in January on a Monday, and by Friday, the entire $5 million had been accounted for. People had applied for it. And it just goes to show you the need, the demand that is really out there in the communities for help with some of these energy efficiency projects, like a furnace. Bonnie, that you referenced, got a new furnace from the program. It could be energy efficient windows. It could be insulation. It could be things that help reduce your energy bills on a monthly basis. So that's the other kind of beautiful thing about it, is that not only did Bonnie get the furnace, but she's going to have a lower heating bill every month throughout the year. But one of the things, it was startling to us, frankly, how quickly those funds went. And so we're looking now at how we can continue that program, because obviously the need is out there. There's a huge demand for people that need help getting these energy efficient changes to their homes. And so we're now working with our Board of Commissioners to figure out how can we add additional funds to this, because I knew it would be a successful program, but I had no idea that in 5 days we would be able to give out $5 million in grants to folks. So we're gonna try to continue that because the need is so huge, and it's important not only to the residents who get an improvement to their home, they get lower utility bills, but it's part of our sustainability effort. When we reduce our carbon footprint as a county, we help to address this issue of climate change. So at the same time we're doing this for the residents, we're also reducing their carbon footprints and Oakland counties as a whole. So it's a win-win-win, and we got to figure out how we can keep that program going.
More information on these programs and others can be found on oakgov.com. If you go to oakgov.com/SOTC, you can watch the 2024 State of the County in full, or join us for our replays on civiccentertv.com. Oakland County Executive David Coulter is with us on today's edition of the Splash Live. Lastly, on the public safety front, some big news recently as the county unveiled a new public emergency radio program that will help our first responders better connect in times of necessity, especially when we have some major emergencies should they ever pop up.
Yeah, and this is something that hopefully residents never have to see, frankly. But the reality is our first responders, police, fire, EMT, the radio system that they were using was so old that one jurisdiction couldn't talk to another jurisdiction, and then you couldn't talk to Detroit or Macomb County. You couldn't talk to the state radio system. It was such an old system. It was a huge investment. We had to go out and borrow money for this. It was $61 million, but I thought it was really critical. When I heard the need, we said, we got to figure out a way to do this. So the good news is now we have a radio system for our first responders in Oakland County that is connected not only throughout the region, but throughout the state. So very simple example. In Southfield, if they're chasing a bad guy who may have done something wrong and they're chasing him, and this person goes crosses 8 Mile and goes into Detroit, we weren't on the same radio system as the city of Detroit. And that was on us. We had an old antiquated system. So now they can talk with Detroit or Macomb County or the state police in the middle of an episode, we can find out the background on this person, that the officers or the fire can get more information so they know what emergency they're stepping into. So it's a game changer for our first responders, and they're out there trying to keep us safe. And so I thought it was really critical that we do everything that we can to provide them the equipment to do that.
Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter with us on the Splash Live today as we review his 2024 State of the County, which you can find replaying all throughout your days and throughout your weekends on civiccentertv.com. Check our website for all listed times that it will be airing. Executive, thank you so much for your time today.
Always great to be here. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Oakgov.eo is the Executive Office's Facebook page. You can always find more information also by enjoying the State of the County's 2024 address on civiccentertv.com. And Kevin, this is a great time of the year because we get to learn so much about our community. We get back out and involved in our communities as well. And there are so many new ways with the sun shining outside and people getting back outdoors that they can get involved right in the heart of our 4 communities.
In the heart of our 4 communities, specifically Sylvan Lake Garden Club, bringing the community together with different events and just their garden club in general. And joining us from the Sylvan Lake Garden Club to speak more on it, we have Tina Herzberg joining us to talk about what's going on at the Sylvan Lake Garden Club. Thank you so much for your time, Tina.
Well, thank you for inviting us here today.
Absolutely. Go ahead,
have a
please.
Community event coming up next week, and I guess you want to talk about it.
Yes, life in our garden, creating rich soil from recycling food, yard waste. It's essentially like we said, just learning how to be creative with different things. Can you speak a little bit more to this event, please?
Right. Once once a year, we put on a community presentation to the neighborhood, inviting everybody to come learn something. You know, it's April, so it's kind of Earth Day, conserving our resources, focusing some attention on that. So with that in mind, we had kind of the idea of food waste and where does our food scraps go? You throw it in the trash, it goes away. Can we do better than that? There's recycling programs, you know, we send our yard waste away and, you know, there's a lot that goes on with recycling and things that we can do better. So we thought, okay, well, let's talk about that. Composting. It's the basis of how everything grows. And we can do that kind of a little closer to home than sending it so far away to come back to us in bags of compost from somewhere. Who knows where.
Right, exactly. And I encourage this and I love this and I'm curious about it because this is, like I said, teaching us how to be resourceful, how to reuse things, just natural nature type things that's already coming from the ground and just how to reuse it for the ground and our soil, make things better. So
it's
that's why
process, yes.
Exactly. So can you just speak on the Sylvan Lake Garden Club in general, your experience being there and why you would encourage people to be a part of the garden club?
Well, we've been around since 1939. So we're, however many years that is. I've been involved with the garden club since 2017. And our objectives are to stimulate the knowledge and love of gardening and nature by nurturing trees and plants and wildlife and encouraging civic planting. So, you know, part of our group has various levels of interest in gardening or experience in gardening. So it's really just a community gathering and sharing information and learning. An opportunity to come together, which is really special here in Sylvan Lake.
Absolutely. Join us right now, member of the Sylvan Lake Gardening Club, Tina Herzberg, talking about the Life in Our Garden, creating rich soil from recycling food and yard waste event that's coming up Thursday, April 18th, as a matter of fact. And it'll be led by Alex Smith of the Oakland Conservation District, who'll be also answering questions and things of that nature. How do you expect the community to kind of react to this event? What do you expect the community to essentially take away from this event also?
Well, I hope that they will look at the things that they throw out in the trash or compost or yard waste or whatever and have a different look at it. We've got a few people in the neighborhood that actually do compost in their backyard. And some topics in the past have been vermicomposting, composting with worms. So those seem to be kind of some hot topics, and a lot of people have been interested. So we're kind of just riding that little wave as it's coming on and you know, trying to get other people to think about how things happen in the soil. You know, there's a lot going on in that dirt. Soil.
No, I know, right?
Yeah.
In the soil. No, I completely agree. The soil tells a story too. You know, there's a lot of history in the soil too, as well as, like we say, nutrients and other things. I'm kind of curious about the community that comes out to this type of event, or even that's part of the gardening club in general. How would you describe it? Would you say it's kind of multi-generational? Would you say it's some of the younger Gen Z crowd also, or would it be some of the older crowd? And if so, how would you encourage, or what would you say the disconnect is between the younger generation and joining organizations like the gardening club, or even having interest in gardening?
Well, our group itself is a little bit more of an older crowd. Our meetings are mostly during the daytime, so it's people that are available during the daytime. This event coming up next week is an evening event, so hopefully by doing an evening time slot, we can get a little bit more of other people that are engaged in gardening activities or interested. So in that way, we can attract a different group and appeal to other people than just art. Yeah, we expanded, opening it up to, friends and neighbors and other people. So we got the word out. Let people know that it's happening.
Yeah, and that's part of our job here at the Splash Live on Civic Center TV. I just was curious because I would hope that we aren't getting to a space where the art of gardening is starting to get lost and kind of get away from the younger generation. But like I said, we do our job here to get the word out. Thank you again, Tina Herzberg, member of the Sylvan Lake Gardening Club, talking about the Life in Our Garden, creating rich soil from recycling food and yard waste event on Thursday, April 18th. Thank you.
Come and join us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great information to pass out to the community again, Tyler. And like I said, I just like to kind of figure out if there's any disconnect between the younger generation and the lost art of gardening or any type of art or science that I feel like the older generation is more connected with.
Hey, so many ways for you to get involved and learn these things if you're interested, and get out there and learn some new skills, meet some new people in the community. And hey, another great way to do that is to stick with us right here on the Splash Live. Plenty more to get to in the days ahead. We'll come back on Monday with new programming all throughout next week. You can always keep up to date with us on CivicCenterTV.com. Thank you for tuning in to the Splash Live.